The first formal Vatican service is set to be held tonight. The Vatican says the public will likely be able to pay respects to Pope Francis starting on Wednesday, 2 days from now, in St. Peter's Basilica. And no date has yet been announced for the Pope's funeral, but according to a new rule that he himself approved just last year, his body will be placed in a wooden coffin, and the coffin will not be placed on an elevated bier in the Basilica, but rather it will face the pews. And as I mentioned, the faithful have already been gathering throughout the day today in the Vatican, an outpouring of affection, profound grief over the loss of Pope Francis. Gerard O'Connell is my guest. He's joining us from the Vatican. Gerard, good to see you as always. Appreciate you taking the time for us here in Canada. You and I worked together, of course, when he was first chosen, if you recall, back in 2013. And here we are.
I remember, Todd. Yes, very good to see you.
Your thoughts today on Pope Francis's legacy, how he stood apart from other popes?
Well, my thoughts, first of all, at a personal level, I'm very sad to lose a friend. So I've known him for 20 years. And secondly, I think he stood out as a moral authority in the world. There's no leader in the world who stands up for peace, for the poor, for the discarded, as he does, as he has done. He was fearless in the words. He sometimes used very street language almost to get his message across. But he was able to reach the hearts of ordinary people and people of all religions and none. And there's no pope in history who has made relations with the Muslims in the way Pope Francis has done. And he has made relations with the poor people who of many, on all the continents. I have traveled with him to Asia, to Africa, to Latin America, and I've seen him with the indigenous peoples in the shanty towns, which he used to visit before he was Pope. You remember, Todd? We spoke about that. And he really has been a moral voice. And he's reminded the world that two things. One, that if we keep fighting, if we keep building, investing in arms, we're not going to have a world. We're going to destroy the world. Secondly, if we don't address the problem of climate change, we are also going to destroy the future for our children.
I remember, Jerry, when we were looking at the different candidates during that conclave, and we were talking about this man named Jorge Bergoglio, and we were wondering, what he would bring to the papacy. He, of course, would later choose the name Francis. Very down-to-earth, very humble, a reformer, and also, as you point out, on issues like climate change and world peace and poverty, something of an activist pope.
Absolutely. He was a man who believed in doing things before speaking. He said, you do things, and if necessary, you use the words to explain what you're doing. And so when, right at the beginning of his pontificate, in June of 2013, he went to the island of Lampedusa, where the migrants from North Africa, many had arrived, and some had drowned in the ocean between North Africa and Sicily. And he went there and threw a reed in the sea in memory of the dead. And he said, we don't want the Mediterranean to be turned into a cemetery. And then he denounced the globalization of indifference. And most recently, some months ago, he sent a letter to the bishops of the United States denouncing the massive deportation of migrants from the United States, and said, this is a disgrace. It is not worthy of human beings.
I know that his views, Jerry, his words sometimes led to issues and controversy within the Catholic Church itself by perhaps more conservative bishops. I'm curious what you think his legacy is on that front in terms of the impact that he had there.
Well, he I think, has fundamentally changed the Church. It was a very hierarchical, where people on top, the bishops, the cardinals, the Pope, gave instructions and other people followed. And he said, that's not the kind of church that Christ wanted. He wants us to be at each having a different role, but each responsible. And so he's changed the dynamic between the priests, the bishops, and the people, and asking each one to recognize that they each have a part, different parts, but each have a role. And it will be, the big question now is, will the cardinals choose a successor who will take the church along that journey?
What are we going to see, Jerry, over the next couple of days as this unfolds? We're seeing already tens of thousands of people where you are in St. Peter's Square who've been coming out to pay their respects to the Pope. Tell me how this will play out now in the days ahead.
Well, on Wednesday, the people, it's the ordinary Romans, the pilgrims, will be able to go and pay their respects to the Pope. His body will be brought into St. Peter's Square, and it will be there, not on a high dais. He said he didn't want that. He wanted a funeral like an ordinary Christian. So he will be in the coffin, and he will not be in a position like his predecessors were, which was on a bier on a dais high up. They will then, for 2 or 3 days, we don't know yet when the funeral is. I expect it to probably be on Saturday, at maximum on Sunday. And they will come and they will pray. And I think we will see a lot of people coming there. And then on Saturday, probably, or on Sunday, we will have the funeral. And I expect heads of states from many, many countries, leaders of the other Christian churches, members of the leaders of other religions coming to pay their final respects to the man who was the voice of the voiceless and the man who saw each person as a brother and a sister, not somebody below him, but he put himself at the level of everybody. And I think that's a message of humility, a message of love that will survive.
Yeah, I mean, the wooden coffin really speaks volumes, and his choice. Yeah, and his choice there. The other question I have for you is when you look at his legacy and everything that he tried to do when he was Pope, you know, as the Catholic Church now moves into a transition period, I wonder what you think we may see, Jerry.
Well, I think since he has appointed the cardinals, almost 110 out of the 125 electors who will vote for his successor. It's very likely that we will see the next Pope who is substantially in accord with the line that Francis has taken. Obviously, each person brings his own personality, will be different. I think Francis was quite original in the way he operated. When he had difficulty walking, he took to a wheelchair. Then when he had hardly any voice, he still took to doing gestures, meeting people in the Basilica last week. And even on Sunday, I saw him close up as he went around the square. And I said to myself, he's saying farewell to the people. And he died as he wanted to die, Todd. He wanted to die as a pope. He wanted to die still carrying out his ministry. He wanted to have people to remember him, as he said, as a good guy.
And one final question for you, Jerry, the poignancy of dying on Easter Monday.
Well, he said on Easter Sunday, he said, Easter is the celebration of life. And he really gave everything he had. As we saw on Sunday, he met Vice President Vance at 11:30. He appeared on the balcony where he first appeared, was presented to the world when you and I were there in March 13, 2013. And then he went among the people. And that is the last memory that people will have of him. He was one of them.
Gerard O'Connell joining us from the Vatican analyst with his take on the passing of Pope Francis at the age of 88. Jerry, thanks so much. It's wonderful to see you again. I appreciate you taking the time for CTV News, as always, my friend.
Thank you. Will you be in Rome?
We will see how it plays out. It's a busy news cycle. As you know, we've got a federal election, but we'll see. Yes. As you know,
it's come at a bad time for you.
It would be great to see you, though, my friend.
Anyway, good to chat with you.
All the best. Take care of yourself.